Next Saturday, oh no, the Saturday after, the 2nd of June. What is next Saturday? Oh,
It's
no.
the 3rd of
It is
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
It's the 3rd.
There is, oh, and you're right, without my glasses, it's the 2nd. There's a multicultural interfaith celebration, and it's a youth fundraiser, LGBTQ youth fundraiser, on Saturday, June 3rd at 2:30 p.m. at St. Bede's Episcopal Church on St. Francis Drive. And every community is invited to attend, to come and sing. Joseph, if you want us to, do a little thing, we can come and sing, we can participate in any way that we choose. So I will put this on the back table so that everybody has all of the information correctly, rather than the confusing way that I delivered it. And let's see, to whom shall I entrust this piece of paper? I'll entrust it to Carol. I'll be right back.
Whatever you do, Carol, don't lose that piece of paper.
That's right.
Well, I'm Reverend Ann Ray, still. And I am happy to welcome you this morning. I'm delighted to see you all, and to remind you, in case you forgot, that I am the overjoyed, over the moon, thrilled senior minister of the Everyday Center for Spiritual Living. I know, right? And today I'm inviting you to spring with me. All right?
All right.
I mean, I think it's time.
Yes.
And when I was working on my talk, I realized Santa Fe, and maybe it's not just Santa Fe, maybe it's other places in New Mexico too, but I only know about Santa Fe in this regard, and that is that there's a lot of lore that comes with Santa Fe.
Yep.
And for those of you who don't remember, but we're edging up, Denise and I are edging up to our 9th year here.
Wow.
I know, it's incredible. And it seems like it's gone just like that. And so the first lore I heard was about planting anything. And when it was the right time to plant. And this is a conversation that, even though I got this information because I've been told by more than one Santa Fean that this is the real deal, is you don't plant anything until after Mother's Day.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Okay. But it's a conversation that Denise and I have every year. Because her personal lore is that the weather is going to behave like spring weather in a predictable way, and so we should be able to start planting end of April, very early May, or maybe even mid-April. It gets a little earlier every year.
Once the sun comes out, I'm like, oh, it's time to plant.
And it's out for more than 10 minutes. And then I heard about allergies. because when we first moved here, and we had been here many times before, but somehow I think we just sort of slipped through that alleyway between allergy seasons. When we first moved here, we would be in the supermarket and grown men would be standing there with tears rolling down their faces and sniveling and just having the worst time and the reddest eyes, and we were told it was allergy season. And then, now this was January, and then time passed and it was March, and we were told it was allergy season. And then time passed and it was May, and we were told it was allergy season. So it wasn't until this year that I got the real scoop that there are 5 allergy seasons in Santa Fe.
That's right.
And I'm so relieved. I'm relieved because now it makes sense that people who, bless their hearts, suffer from any kind of response to, in particular, juniper or whatever else, because there are other things, that they may have that happen more than once. And my birth father was terribly allergic. It's one of the few things other than his temper that I remember really clearly about him. And he was terribly allergic, but in that sort of way, allergic to growing things. And yet he coached an American Legion baseball club. And you're out there on the grass the whole time, and he would be miserable. Anyway, I'm very grateful that when the allergies impact me, it's usually only for a couple of days, that I didn't get that particular gene. Very grateful. Which leads us to growing things. And the most interesting thing in my mind for us to grow is us.
Yes.
And do you know what? We don't have a growing season. We can decide anytime we want that today's the day.
Right.
That we're going to grow a new idea. We're going to plant a seed for a new dream. We're going to no longer be available for the old idea or the false belief. No longer available. And we're going to step in to this fertile soil that is always waiting to take whatever it is that we give it. There were many things that were particularly interesting about Reverend Diana Lee's reading today from Raymond Charles Barker, who is one of my favorite theologians on the planet. One of them was, the gist of it was, whatever we need to support the growth of what we're planting is always available. It's always right where we are. So how is it then that we feel like we're missing something? How is it then that we can be so convinced of lack and limitation. Well, none of us here, of course. None of us here have any of those thoughts. But we know people who have those thoughts. That there is lack and limitation either in their lives or in life somewhere in the world. Now, when we look at the world, and we're just going to do this for a second, so hang in with me because I'm not going to leave you there. When we look at the world, doesn't it make sense to see some lack and limitation if we're observing the world? It makes sense, right? So how come it can happen wherever we see it elsewhere, but we might not experience it? Does that mean that God isn't real? Does that mean that spirit isn't real? Does that mean that there is favoritism or preferential treatment that happens at the level of the divine? Now, I know, thank you, Patty and Carol and Linda, I know that none of those things exist at the level of the divine. I do know that. For real. I haven't always known that. In fact, I haven't always known half the things I know now. But I wasn't ready to know them then.
Yep.
I wasn't ready to believe in myself that way. I wasn't really ready to be able to look into someone's eyes and be the eyes of God, looking into the eyes of God, seeing me. I wasn't ready. Let me remind you of the basics. What I call the basics. There is one life, one power, one presence. It is all life. It is all creation. It is all love. It is totally and completely only love. It is all good. Now, how can I say it's all good if all life everywhere isn't all good? Well, as it happens, we have this thing called free will. Don't we?
Yes.
And don't you know that because it's free and it's will, we can use it however we want to.
Yep.
So we can use it to benefit ourselves and others, or not. We can use it to just benefit ourselves and not give two hoots about anybody else. That's part of the free will part. The free will part. Anyway. But this life and this power and this presence and this love and this one that is provision itself and wholeness itself and beauty itself, we are that. We're not all that it is, but it is all that we are.
Yep.
Whether we know it or not. So what's this got to do with planting seeds? Spiritual mind treatment, or scientific prayer, as we talked about it a couple of months ago, The reason that that is such a powerful tool is because we are speaking our word, and that is the same thing as pouring sugar into a measuring cup. The seed that we're planting is the cup, and it has whatever shape we give it. So let's say that we're planting, well, I was so blessed, we were so blessed. It was almost just I was so blessed, but Denise decided she had to have some. To have Patty's cherry pie after the pie and jewelry sale. Had it been my way, I would have been so blessed. Anyway, but that is some cherry pie you make.
Mine was apple, actually, Ann.
I thought it had your name on it.
No.
Oh,
So someone has.
well,
done-
whoever's cherry pie it was,
It was
oh!
I had the apple and it was fabulous.
Well, I don't know whose cherry pie it was, but I want to tell you, it was amazing. Now, to put that cherry, I know a little bit about cooking. And to put that cherry pie together and have it taste that way, you know, you don't just throw the ingredients together in the pan with the crust and then you hope that it comes out. It's particularly with baking. Baking is science.
Yep.
And it is very carefully done. Lots of love. So, we're looking at a parallel universe here. We're having a side-by-side experience because I'm still talking about seeds. I'm still talking about planting change or dreams or improvements, whatever it is that is in your heart and mind. And cherry pie. First of all, you have to decide to make the cherry pie, because there's lots to choose from. And thank God for whoever made this cherry pie, that is clearly one of their favorites. And then you have to plan everything. You have to plan the crust, and you have to plan what kind of cherries you're using, and how much sugar you're going to use, and what the other ingredients are going to be. When we're planting seeds, unless we really are looking for, let's say, a wildflower garden that looks like it, where the wildflowers are just scattered wherever they fell, and that can be gorgeous, can it not?
Yes.
But if we're looking for something, if we want irises over there, and we want honeysuckle over there, and we want broom over there, then those are the seeds we buy, and those are the seeds and the locations where we plant them. And then we take care of them. Right?
Yes.
I know that whether or not any of you garden, and I happen to know some of you are very serious gardeners, this makes sense to you because it's basic to planting. But we will plant an idea, or we will plant a dream, or we will plant the seed for a change that we want to call forward in our lives, and we'll give it a little thought. Then we'll have somebody else, which is fine, which is really, really fine. We'll go to a practitioner and we'll say, I'm planting this seed. I'm calling forward the sale of my shop. And I could use your support. I could use a little faith lift. Because where two or more of us are gathered, magic happens. I could use some clarity about what's mine to do to support it and to really give it a chance to grow in my life. That's all good. Except so far, we haven't really taken any responsibility. We're talking to a practitioner about it, which is great, but we haven't said, this is my plan. This is my plan. This is my plan for feeding it. This is my plan for nurturing it. This is my plan for only talking to people who will support me. Rather than telling everybody in the world that this is my latest idea and them thinking and wanting and can't wait to tell me how I'm wasting time. That's the silliest thing they ever heard. And once again, I am going to be disappointed. Well, phooey on them. Right?
Right.
Because we aren't talking to people who understand. We aren't talking to people who understand that the creative mechanism is part and parcel of who we are. That we aren't just messing around here. That we are the vehicle for life itself to show up as us. And as that vehicle, we can, and you know I very seldom should on you, but I'm going to right now. I just thought I'd warn you a little bit. We can and should use that authority with consciousness, with deliberateness, with conviction of success. Some of us have been having big struggles with some things for a long time.
Yep.
Am I saying that you planted that?
No.
Can I have that a little louder?
No.
No.
No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that you're still available to it. You know, our whole life is about response, and how we respond. We learned growing up that it was about reaction, or at least some of us did. And that if this happened, then there was this reaction, and so that's how things happened. But it's not about reaction. It's about response. If this thing happens, let's say that we have something. I will use my own story on myself. I had not just a nail in my tire. I had a construction cement screw nail in my tire, which means we go from something that's this big to something that is this big. And no longer reparable. Which means 4 new tires. At least where I come from. It means 4 new tires. So I could have been upset that somehow my tire and this screw nail found each other. Who knows how those things happen, right? Especially when you spend as much time as all of us do driving on dirt roads. And there's construction happening everywhere. But I thought about it, and I said, well, you know, I've had these tires for this long, and they've really served me, and I haven't had a single problem, and it's just fine to get 4 new tires. In fact, it's great to get 4 new tires, because I'm going to be doing more driving than I've done in a long time. You know, none of us drove nearly as much during the pandemic. So our cars were just sitting around. At any rate, what I want us to walk away with today is that anything we want to grow, as ourselves, or in our garden, anything we want to grow, everything that we need to support that growth, being everything we can imagine, and then some, has already been provided. We may have to be patient. You know, that's one of the things about being human. Is that sometimes we have to be patient. Because everything has its own growing season, Denise. Everything has its own growing season. We may have to give it extra love. No matter what it is that we need to do to be a nurturing presence for this thing that we are planting, we have the capacity to do it. Period. No exceptions. We have the capacity to do it. Exactly, miss. Exactly. Yeah. That's my sweet girl. Yeah. See? I seeded a puppy dog in my experience for 2 seconds. So give yourself permission and be willing and stay willing. Take creation on. What do I mean by that? I mean, say, okay, life that I am, life that everything is, this is what I am calling forward in my life. This is what I'm calling forward in my experience. And even if it makes you feel better to say, and Reverend Ann says, that it's up to me to take responsibility and stand in my own authority and stick with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
This is not a come and go process. It can be, but I'll just tell you, it isn't, because we don't believe it can be.
Right.
If we absolutely 1,000% believed that it could just be like that, it would happen. Really. So we're willing to give it the patience because we've decided that this is gonna take a while. But stick with it. It's worth it. You're worth it. And so it is.
And so it is.